Wow. Wow. Don't do it. Hi, everybody. Wow. I was going to do like the how are you to get the reaction, but the hi got the reaction. So that's cool. How's everyone doing today? Good. So how many people here, by a show of hands, this is your first PAX? Show of hands also screams. How many of you, this is your first con? You can scream too, it's fine. Okay. So this is more for you. I wrote a thing. It's kind of short, so you won't be here for very long. You guys can go and have fun afterwards. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I know you guys. When I was asked to do this, I thought this was like part of like a ceremony or something, where I was going to be like the second act or something. So I got really nervous, and then I realized that it was just me. So I assume most people here know who I am. Okay. So I don't feel so weird. All right. Thank you, though. Thank you for coming. I'm going to read a thing. I hope you guys like it. Hi, I'm Arin Hanson. I'm going to talk about the stuff that I've done so that the people in here who have no idea who this guy is, again, when I wrote this, I thought there would be more people here who wouldn't know who I was. They could at least feel like I'm not wasting their time, and so I can give a bit of context to what I'm going to talk about. I'm the owner and co-host of Game Grumps, an internet comedy show about games. Before that, I made... Wow. Gosh, you're so nice. Thank you for that. Before that, I made cartoons about games that amassed tens of millions of views. With Game Grumps, we've opened a game development and publishing leg that allowed us to create Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator. Thank you. I told you you get cheers. This is Vernon right here. He made it. Dream Daddy was 2017's second best-selling indie game. The first was PUBG, so thank you, PUBG. Appreciate it. Jerry of Penny Arcade spoke very kindly about me in the press release for this keynote. Jokingly, he said he didn't know how I fit this into my schedule. Well, Jerry, if you're watching, you were right. It honestly did require a lot of moving around because I had meetings set up for my touring company, Real Good Touring, in which we create and tour live shows for YouTubers, and we're gearing up to release my band Starbomb's third album in April. Wow. I'm trying not to make it sound like it's like gloating or I'm showing off. It's just to illustrate that it's a little exhausting. So when I was asked if I would do the keynote speech for this year's PAX East, you would think I'd sort of groan and be like, well, I don't really have time for that. You really expect me to come out there? But I said, give me an hour or two to think about it. So I walked into my ridiculous office that is filled with anime toys, and I immediately started writing down notes about what I would say. And I absolutely hated all of it. It was garbage. I was like, why would anyone want to hear me talk about me? I was so scared that I had nothing, that I would make a complete fool out of myself. I would just ramble on stage and I would embarrass everyone and destroy my reputation and everyone around me's reputation. I was terrified. So I walked out of my office, I went to my assistant and I said, I'll do it. There's just something that knew that I should do it. So for days I was pacing and pondering and writing notes, trying to figure out what the hell I was going to say to thousands of people who did not care who the hell I am. Again, this is before. When I was sort of at my wit's end, I walked into my manager and business partner's much more reasonable office, and I sat down. His name is Brent, by the way. I said, hey, yeah, cheer for Brent. I said, Brent, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to say. I've watched these legendary game developers and personalities stand up on this stage and effortlessly tell stories about their life and their epiphanies, and I don't have a single one of those. I don't have stories where I worked under some master for years and he told me he was finally proud of me after we shipped a game that we crunched on for months. I don't have any stories about like crying over a family member's grave and it changed my life or something. Every change in my life happens when I'm in the shower, I'm in the car, and I'm like, oh, I should make a change to my life today, cool. Let's go get some Wendy's. Brent said, well, why don't you open with that? That's interesting on its own. You know, disarm them, subvert their expectations. So I did. Consider your expectations subverted. I said to Brent, well, what would you want to hear me talk about in my position? You see me every day. What is interesting about me? Without hesitation, he leaned back in his chair and he said, fear. And I was like, geez, Brent, this is a keynote for a video game convention, dude. After they see me talk, they're going to go play Mario or something. I said, no, look, you don't have the same money neuroses everyone else has. You're responsible for the lives of 15 to 20 people at any given time, 4 companies all with employees, and the choices you make could destroy everything you've built. You had a guy and an 18-year-old girl who both had never made a game before ask you for hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a video game using your company's name, and you didn't even bat an eye. You make all those decisions without hesitation. You're always a self-starter, and even before Game Grumps, you just dove into every project, even when you were broke. He said about The Office, if all this crumbled tomorrow, you're the last person I would worry about. There's no fear there. You just go and do it, and that fascinates me. And I was like, wow, Brent, that's the nicest thing you've ever said. I got to put that in my keynote. But I had never thought about it like that. I feel like I have fear. I'm scared all the time. I'm nervous right now. Oh. It's just, I just wrote it. It's not. Even back when I released my first cartoon, I was terrified of how people would think. It was just a silly cartoon about Metal Gear Solid I submitted on Newgrounds.com. I mean, you guys are really helping me stretch this. I like it. I made it to make my friends laugh, and because I was way into doing an impression of Solid Snake, so I wrote a script on a whim so I could do it more, you know. It was rough, it was raw, it didn't look like the other cartoons that were popular on Newgrounds at the time. For all intents and purposes, it looked pretty terrible. But it made me laugh, it made my friends laugh, so I thought I'd share it with the world. Newgrounds has a system on the website where if enough people vote a video poorly, it gets deleted off the site. It's called Getting Blammed. And I thought, for sure, without question, my cartoon was going to get blamed. I resigned to it. I guess it was how I coped with that fear, but make no mistake, I was very afraid. It's really nerve-wracking to put something out into the world that's a piece of you and let people comment on it and vote on how good it is. But I just knew what I had to do. I absolutely put it up. And then it ended up on the front page of Newgrounds the day it was released. People loved it. Comments were pouring in, and I read them all day. I was smiling from ear to ear all day. And the fear subsided for a little bit. But after that, someone from MTV saw my cartoon and called me on my phone. I was on the phone with an MTV exec when I was like 18. They wanted me to make more cartoons just like the one I made about Metal Gear, and I was like, of course. Of course I want to make more cartoons. But I was terrified. What if they're not good enough? Or what if I blow this opportunity? At the time, it was the biggest thing to ever happen to me. It felt like that big break everyone talks about in the industry. I didn't want to blow it. I wanted to do a good job, but I was terrified. I didn't think I was capable. I didn't think I could make it as funny as the first one was. I felt like it was a fluke, all that kind of stuff. So no, I wasn't fearless in that moment either. I don't think I was. I was shaking just being on the phone with this guy. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I ruin this for myself before I even start making cartoons? But again, I just knew. I said yes, and I took that job, and I did it well. The pay was not great. But I made good cartoons. Some of my funniest bits came from those cartoons. It was validating, and it was fun, and it was something from that point on that would be a notch on my belt. I worked for MTV. My cartoons were on television. The MTV thing eventually ended, but I had made a ton of cartoons, and I wanted to make more. I was on a roll, I felt. So I started making cartoons just to upload online. I wasn't getting paid or anything. Occasionally, Newgrounds would sponsor a cartoon I released, but I had to start taking odd jobs. I was freelancing, I was doing art commissions. For a while, I worked at Disneyland, which, spoiler alert, is not the happiest place on earth to work. Same. But eventually YouTube came along, and it did start paying. I uploaded a video, and I would get a small chunk of the ad revenue from commercials you'd see attached to the video. I felt like if I focused on making cartoons on YouTube, I could make a living. At that time, I was doing freelance work for video games, like graphics and animations and such. It paid really well, and I was doing animation work, so it was honestly kind of a dream scenario. But once I found out I could make money off of my cartoons on YouTube, I felt like I had to choose the gamble of committing to that, or keep doing my time-consuming freelance work that didn't really let me make cartoons. It was scary. I had very steady work for the next year, and I was just going to throw it away to maybe make a living on this platform that who knows if it's just going to crash and burn tomorrow. I would probably burn the bridge of the guys who were trying to give me that regular freelance work if I did this. Everyone in my life was saying to stick with my current work. I mean, really the work I was doing was kind of a dream scenario. How could I just walk away from that? But again, I just knew. I walked away from that freelance gig, and it was terrifying. I was very scared. I didn't have a job. And I'm thinking, how could Brent say I have no fear? But I guess I wanted to do cartoons. It was really fun, and it made me very happy. It ended up being very lucrative. I was finally able to buy my own used car. That was pretty huge for me. YouTube really picked up. I was making more than I had ever had doing something that I really, really loved. So I was happy. And I was thinking of other fun things to do, and along came Game Grumps. It was just a silly idea made as a joke, you know. This Let's Play format where you film yourself playing a video game was coming up.